The most accurate thing to say is that the default rule is to exclude the Git metadata directory, but that you can override this default by adding a new rule.
What's it called? The source?
It's called a source ignore file.
Ignore.
And it has the exact same format as the git ignore file.
Oh, okay, and it's something that can be a file in the repo, or it can be inline in the API object. Is that right, Hida?
It can be a file in yeah, it can be a file any directory in the Git repository, or a list of rules in the ignore field of the object. And the ignore field overrides any of the rules that got loaded during the reading of the source ignore files from the directory. So it's basically like the values in the Helm release.
Yep. So is what I've written there correct now, Hida?
1 second, I need to move you to my other monitor so I can actually read the text.
Should I make that make it a bit bigger?
Yeah, I would maybe add that the way to include it is to add a rule with a quotation mark and then the .git.
Okay, so shall I give an example here? What does it look like? Include, do I have to say include?
It's spec include. Now, right, I'm going to give an example in the chat. That's going to be much easier.
Don't normally go to such lengths for each issue, just to be clear. Spec.
Above and beyond, Michael.
Yes, exactly. I would be happy to close a single bug with an extremely good resolution in an hour, but I don't think anyone else would be happy with that result. Peter, are you looking it up?
I'm looking up what the exact. Why is Zoom on Linux such a? I can't if I do multi-line text and I go like further than like 400 lines of text, then suddenly the 5th line of text disappears and I can no longer read what I'm typing. So now I have to type it elsewhere and copy it.
Try to remember how you, is it the API reference? Ignore. Where is the thing that tells you how to actually use the API things? Is it this one? Aha. Okay, I think that's enough. I've put a link to the documentation. I'm closing it now. Let's just make sure that it does actually explain how to do that.
Oh. Zoom also strips your text from any spaces. Beautiful product.
Say that again, Hida.
Yeah, I pasted an example in the Zoom chat, but
Okay.
it got stripped from all white space, basically.
Okay, we have now done one bug. So I need to put a thing here, don't I? So close with explanation and check that it's done. All right. Issue number 2, please. Combined changelog. Does this pretty much happen when Flux 2 gets released? That there's a changelog of all the different bits? Gonna close that and go and have a look. Not there.
No, we don't have a combined controller changelog.
Okay. All right. In that case, what should we do with this issue? Any suggestions?
Yeah.
It's area dark, so it's kind of in the right. It's already been labeled. I don't think there's anything to do with this, really.
Someone needs to find it important enough to fix it. It's not a thing that can be fixed in a single day either. I think if we want to like prepare ourselves for growth, most of our changelogs should be auto-generated, and it should be done first for the controllers, and then for the Flux 2 project, some sort of, I don't know, composed kind of thing.
Yeah.
It should be constructed, but I think with the current way we do changelogs and everything, it would become a very unstructured combined changelog, which wouldn't provide many benefits to the user.
Yeah. I'm just going to make a comment here, but
Did you say would or what wouldn't?
Well, wouldn't, in the sense that it would be very verbose, and I don't see how we can make it pretty easily without putting in a bit of effort. And if you put in that bit of effort, then it may be better to address it at once for all the controllers and just automate it so that it's done forever. Basically, the way we create changelogs at the moment is that the human writes them by hand, links in all the issues or collects them, or no, pull request collects them, and writes a description for that release. I don't know, any highlights. And that should all be automated, and then we can work based on the automation. We then know what the relevant information is and how to structure it into a combined thing, basically.
yeah, but I think the other part of what you were saying here is that when you have just an automated list and you get a really long list, then it's actually less use for users because less useful for users because it's just a long list of stuff. And often the sort of PR titles that get put in automated change logs don't describe for the user what actually happened, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I do know, however, some projects that fix this by rewriting the PR title before merging, so that they always know that it is written in a specific style because it is included in the change log. So you can, with like process or rules, you can address this. But they used to create like a standard for like, okay, we want all our PR titles to be in a specific ways because they are included into the change log. But it can be addressed, which needs some rules, some defined standards, some bits of automation. But I think like for me, what the best way would be is that you like it would be collected from the pull request metadata. It would be categorized based on labels, and you would have an option to provide what we do right now, basically the first paragraph we have it with every release, we should still be able to provide like a human summary of what's included in the release to sugarcoat it. And that should be the only action that still would be required by a human for the release, and all other data would be gathered. That's how I see it being done.
That's how the Flux One releases worked.
And then you could go one step further.
They gave you all the data, and then you just went through it and sort of curated it a bit and tidied it up.
Yeah. And then I thought about like, okay, how do you automate the last bit? So how do you automate the bit that the human description is still? And you could take like the description from the release commit and include that as the summary.
All right, so we don't really have a resolution for this. There's something we can do with it. Punt it. How do we do that? What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what these emoji mean. Kingdon, are you still here?
What does he explained this last time? The check doesn't mean it's resolved. It just means that we've looked at it and done something substantial with it to sort of move things along.
Oh, okay. And the cross means
blocked.
We looked at it, but there's nothing we can do right now.
Nothing we can do yet.
Okay, let's do that then. And then next, let me close this one.
Well, you added a comment, and that's.
I added a comment, but is that really?
But you looked. I mean, you looked at it. You added a comment that hopefully can move the process along.
I'll award myself a green check instead.
There you go. Yeah, 10 points for Gryffindor.
That's right. Here's one that I logged. Oh, I know what this one is. Josh, do you use the image automation stuff in Flux too?
Yeah, for the ECR. So
it'd be interesting to have your opinion on this idea.
Yeah, it's having to define it for each image policy was obviously completely different to what I did with Flux One. I just added the annotation. Still not the most versed of it. I've only done it for one client, but yeah, to me it seems I need to get into it more. But there was more work than there originally was, because before I just set an annotation when I define my deployment for Flux to pick up the new ECR images, but now I'm going to create a policy. In fact, I could even show what I did, because it might not even be. Where is it?
Well, let's try and stick to this this
yeah.
issue so that we can plow ahead a bit. So the idea with this one is that if you remember in Flux v1, you can kind of give it patterns and it tries to order all the images depending on the build time, which turns out to be pretty unreliable sometimes because, for instance, you might do a build which actually uses a prior version from the Git repo, but because it's cached, it just looks like it's the same image again. You might use a new version, the latest revision of the Git repo, but because it's cached, it's the same as, you reverted a change or something. It looks older than the previous one, and the build time and the revision don't always line up. That's what I'm trying to say. So the idea of this issue is a feature where you can kind of link it to a Git repo and say, always have the latest revision, always have the image built from the latest Git revision. And it would reliably give you that, even if it had a cached image or there was some other problem, like another thing that we found when we used Flux 1 was that sometimes an image build would fail and then the subsequent one would succeed, and then someone would rerun the failed one, and then that would become the newer image, even though it was actually older. Did you see what I mean? So CI pipelines can run out of order is what I'm saying. But that wouldn't be a problem in this case, because you would just get whatever the newer one was, according to Git. Having said all that, I'm not sure there's much we can do with this apart from leave it parked. Let me have a look.
So, that one with Git, so you'd push the image and it would take it from the most recent commit on that repo.
Yeah.
I haven't actually, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I haven't, generally I always do it from like a Git action that builds, pushes the image to the ECR and then Flux to pick up the most recent image there. I haven't come across of doing it via Git before, actually. Or is this potentially a new feature you're suggesting?
This is a new feature, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just getting your sort of hot take on whether it would be useful to you or not.
In terms of containerizing, let's generally use Docker. How would it, if it got from the most recent commit, this is the image. Where would the image be? Would the image be stored in somewhere like the ECR, for example, so we can pull down the Docker image, or somewhere else? But I'm just wondering how, if it got it from the most recent commit, which is definitely good because it makes life much easier when you want to revert as well. Because when you want to revert, there's a few more steps to it. It's a bit trickier, and you definitely have come across scenarios where the wrong image has been deployed because of that. Doing it from the most recent Git, that would be that. I think that would be useful for knowing what ones definitely to use. But majority of the times I've seen, you guys might have seen something different. Generally, a really popular approach I've been doing or been one of the guys on is pushing it to ECR to pull the image down. How would it know if we did it for the most recent commit? How would it know what image to use? Would that still be stored in somewhere like the ECR, and you just use this as the reference? How would that? I'm not sure.
I mean, how does the image get linked to
the commit?
Yeah, so there's a standard set of labels that you can add to images. So you would have to have your build basically label the image with the revision from which it was built each time. So there is a bit of prerequisite for the user of this feature, but it's not, unless the build is completely out of your power, then it's not onerous to add a label to the image build. But that's the idea. There may be other ways. I mean, you can put it in a tag, for instance.
Yeah, I normally do that with like the Git SHA. I normally do that with the Git SHA.
Right. That's quite common as well. Yeah.
What if you pushed it out, the most recent commit is there, and then the build failed for whatever reason, didn't get pushed to the ECR, but it tries to deploy. Will there be a step in place where it says, oh, I know this is a most recent commit, but actually I know there's no reference here into the ECR, for example, where that document is meant to be?
Yeah, correct, exactly. So the idea would be you have the list of images and you have the commits, and you go, right, which is the image that corresponds to the most recent commit that I can find? Or you see what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
this one, oh, there isn't an image for that yet. Fine. How about this one? Oh, yes, there is an image for that. Great, that's the most recent one.
I think that'd be useful. More specifically on the reverting as well, I think. Like the CID flow is messing up. It definitely does happen, but like when you're having to do revert, tell me the engineers are quite panicky. And what we end up doing now is just delete it from the ECR, but then you've still got the reference still in GitHub, I guess.
Yeah. Deleting stuff is, ooh.
And it's just gonna keep going. And it's not as easy, and you've got to delete it in a few places or have a script event. I think it would be useful, to be fair. I like the idea of just being able to go, something's gone wrong, let me just revert this merge. And then it'll just sort itself out.
And it'll build a new one, and yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you for your take on that. It's really useful to hear about it. I don't know what we can't really move this on though, other than giving it a thumbs up maybe. So if you feel like it, Josh, you can add your support by giving it a thumbs up if you can. Find it in the thing, and then
let's find it in.
Maybe it can be added at some point.
Who would build it? Who goes about building? Do you have set individuals that build this stuff, or is it?
For some stuff, yeah. I mean, it's fairly. There are people that work full-time, more or less, on doing Flux, but there's fewer people than you would need to cover every single thing that comes in, of course. And we also get quite a few contributions from people who are not working full-time, but just need a particular thing for their use of Flux, or kind of felt like contributing when they had some free time, or whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
But yeah, the things that get done tend to be decided individually, and then there's occasionally a sort of wider initiative to make a particular get a particular sort of broader thing done. Like at the minute, Hida has rewritten a lot of, or provided a lot of kind of runtime helpers, and so some of the controllers are being rewritten to use those, to kind of standardize the code bases. Okay, I'm going to have to mark this one, I think, as a looked at, but nothing done. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Sorry, Michael.
Hi.
What does the red circle with the cross, what does it signify on the issue? Yeah, that one.
This one, yeah. Seen. No, there is one for this blocks looking one. I think is blocked.
Okay.
Yeah. This one I understand to be. We looked at it, but couldn't move it on in any way.
Oh, okay.
I think that's right.
So there's a little legend in the attendees tab, by the way. We had after the last meeting where this question came up. The open circle is sort of like, I'm going to look at this one, and the closed circle is, yeah, we looked at it. That's really all.
Got it. Okay, so I think we had roughly the right idea there. So far, good.
Okay. I guess it would be nice to like put in some comments on like probably why it was visited, and we can move forward with it at the moment. Just in case someone else is looking at it.
Yeah. So should I put a note in? At least that. Do you mean there or in the issue, Santoshi?
Yeah, I think here is okay. It already has some comments on the issue.
Yeah.
And is there a label for like issues that we just need like anyone to pick up. Maybe adding that label might also be helpful.
Yeah, is help wanted, is that a kind of free-for-all signal?
Sounds like it. Okay.
Because not, this one is probably too fiddly for good first issue. But there is a help wanted, extra attention is needed. No, that's not quite right, is it? Probably needs design. Yeah, it's a good idea, isn't it? Just to have something that indicates, you know, there's nothing stopping this other than someone just doing it.
Yeah.
Should we invent a label for it? What do you think is a good name? We definitely need a different color.
I just want to use something that is common in other repos. So even if the person is here for the first time, it will probably, I don't know, help the description, because you know people might search for the label coming to like in a repository. It's like probably expected. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I missed a bit in the middle there, but you were saying use something that's fairly self-explanatory and
Yeah, like some like good first issue is sort of like if someone is coming to a repository for the first time, the person would think to search of it. Yeah, so probably something, a label that people would, that's already being used, like probably in other projects or something.
Does anyone know of a good label has that property? Me neither. We could invent one. We can always change it later because it'll just update, won't it?
Nice to have, I'm not sure.
Yeah, nice to have. Or could be just, what about ready?
Yeah.
Or ready to implement. It's kind of at least self-explanatory, even if it's not used elsewhere.
Sweet.
Although having said that, I also just added the label contradicting that, but I'll remove that. Ready to go. Somtouchy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think it's good.
It at least kind of gives you the right idea, right? Even if it's not something used elsewhere, which I doubt it's something used elsewhere, but we could do a bit of research and
yeah, we could
look,
update it later.
Okay. Ready to go. No blockers, just needs doing. That seems reasonable to me. All right. So I'll go back and add that. Okay. I'm going to make a note for myself somewhere. It's probably something we could roll out if we think it's a good idea across all of the repos, couldn't we? Like the whole Flux CD. Is there extended? Okay. All right. Now we're ready to look at the next one. Where is it? Yes, this one here. So this is quite old by the look of it, because we're doing things in descending ancientness order. And it says it's blocked, I've just noticed. So perhaps rather than trying to understand exactly what the bug is.
I've never come across having to add a tag. Maybe I've missed something.
Sorry, Josh, what were you saying, that this is something you haven't seen?
No, I've released quite a few now on charts and Git repositories via customers.
You know what? I looked this one up the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it is only not fixed if you're using extensions v1 beta 1 for your deployments or Helm v2. So this one might actually be possible to close, given that people are upgrading.
No, it only happens if you have a single pod.
Right, I found a Helm upstream issue.
See the Helm issue, I linked to him the first comment that explains it. If the solution there got merged, it is fixed, otherwise it isn't fixed.
Let me see if I can find the
Proposed fix here from Sean. It is closed. Has it been closed due to?
there was a discussion, I'm looking for the link right now, where it was uncovered that there was a fix that was possible, except that it only applied to apps v1 and apps v1 beta 1 if there was a beta for apps, I forget. But
What's the
was
issue number?
trying to warn someone about this issue the other day, and when I went to look for any sign that it was still open at upstream Helm, I found everything had been closed some time ago. So maybe this is someone to try to reproduce it, if I could volunteer for that.
It hasn't been fixed. It's still Sean pinged on the PR you opened on February 19th, and after that there hasn't been a comment nor has it been closed. So the issue is still relevant.
Wow, okay. So it's just not going to, it looks like it's not going to be fixed.
Yeah, it's still blocked based on the decision they have to make upstream. But
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be much priority to fix it, so.
I thought there was a blocked upstream label, but maybe not.
Some repositories have it, others don't.
Ah, okay, just not this one. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, I don't think there's anything we can do to move this on while it's blocked upstream. So what do we do if something, there's nothing
I would
to
give
do?
it the bricks icon.
Oh, yeah, yeah, fair enough, yeah. So it doesn't look like they're actually going to attempt, given that this is closed, the upstream bug is closed, doesn't look like they're even going to attempt to fix it.
This question did come up within the last week, one way or another. So at least now we have a note in here, so we don't have to revisit it every time we do bug scrub.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got an icon. Okay. A whole bunch of Go Git providers. Probably worth having a look at some of these. I suspect there's probably a kind of flurry of bugs that were logged in the first flushes of this project being done. Created. When a test fails, it dumps lots of lines of information at request. Yep, seems reasonable. Don't think any of the labels really apply. Not sure there's anything you can do. It seems pretty self-explanatory. It just needs doing. So I'm going to mark this as and let's have a look at this one. Okay. I don't actually know how releases work for Go Git providers. Does anyone know?
No, I don't.
Sebastian, have you been involved with Go Git providers at any point? No, me neither really. Let's just check that there aren't already instructions. There's lots of maintainers getting help. Okay, and no instructions anywhere else. This looks suspiciously light. Some automation.
What's that?
Yes.
It looks like it's generating them there.
Yeah. So I don't think the instructions would be terribly complicated. All right, I'm going to have put a note about that. Hang on. Oh, okay, yeah, Simon's effectively said that. It strikes me that he could have just written this into the README rather than posting an issue with this exact information, but never mind. Maybe I'll ping Simon about this. Which means that I can give this a this one.
Gets a medal. Or,
No, it hasn't been resolved. I just made a comment.
I like to give out medals pretty aggressively. That's okay though.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, who wouldn't?
Thing.
Just had the Olympics, so everyone's kind of primed for that, aren't they? Medals being sprayed around. Okay, should we try for one more? What time is it? 5:02. Okay, let's try for one more. See if we can do anything about this one.
Sorry if I'm distracted. I'm working on one of the things that we came across in the last bug scrub, and after discussion with Stefan, I just agreed to add a longer comment restating what the remaining issue was, because it was the whole discussion in that issue meandered and it wasn't really clear anymore. So
oh yeah,
I'm still doing that, and that's marked on the spreadsheet right now.
Cool. Yeah, actually, that's quite a good use of this time, isn't it? Sometimes it's just summarizing where a discussion got up to and sort of what remains to be done. Because actually, some of the time you can just do that by looking at the discussion. You don't need to be chasing code around or anything. Okay, so this one, to ensure that setting the default branch of repo at creation hours function. Okay, so there should be a test, basically. I can't disagree with anything written there by Dinos. Anyone have anything to add, or should we just mark it as a nothing further to do at this time?
I'd imagine someone's already done it, haven't they? If it was done a while ago, or was it just sat there?
It's possible, isn't it? We could have a quick look. Let's look at this referenced. Okay. Oh, is it? Okay, yes, that's referring back to this. Not quite sure. We can see if it's in the code anywhere. It's probably easier to do it here. Oh, it's changed. GitHub integration test. Okay. Test. I'm looking for test. Here we go. So actually, the first thing I'm going to do is look at the history. And there is the PR that we just looked at. It doesn't look like any of these would have added a test. But let's check anyway. Actually, I'm not sure where I'm checking. How long is this file?
Do a blanket search for main.
Yeah. This will change. Okay. Lost myself slightly. It's currently possible setting the optional default branch for the repo. Okay, I'm going to assume that this still hasn't been covered by a test, and therefore this issue is still valid, because I didn't see anything that made me think otherwise. So I think the action here is just to, oops, that's not actually there. Any question? I think the action is actually just to leave this, let someone do it. It's already a good first issue, so maybe someone will come along and give it a go. All right. So
I appreciate everyone turning out. I think this is a new high water mark for Bug Scrub attendees.
yes, it's a good record to set.
I haven't looked back at the the attendees tab, but if anyone is interested in receiving a survey, please make sure that your contact information is on the attendees tab. We'll at some point survey the Bug Scrub attendees, probably soon, about how we feel like this is going and what else we could do differently. But the main enhancement that's on deck, we plan to add the GitHub discussions. Now that Stefan let me know there's a GraphQL API that you can use to pull the discussions down, we're going to add them to this list as well.
Cool. All right, I've got to jump across to another thing.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thanks
Cheers.
very much, everyone.
Awesome. Cheers.